Hello, my name is Beth Domkowski, and I'm coming to you from the Office of Admissions at Rowan University in Glassboro, New Jersey. Welcome to Rowan Confidential. I am joined today by Carmen McDonald. Welcome.
Thank you.
So happy to have you on. Carmen has been a nurse for over 38 years and has worked in a variety of different roles in healthcare leadership. She has a bachelor's in health education from Rowan University, an MSN and an MHA from University of Phoenix, and a PhD in healthcare administration from Walden University. In addition, Carmen is a nationally certified as an advanced holistic nurse and nurse executive. Thank you so much for joining us today. You've been an adjunct professor here since 2009, right?
Yeah, going into my 10th year.
Oh, my goodness. And you came full-time August.
I did. About a year ago. I've been here full-time a year ago. Happy to be at Rowan, and thank you for having me today.
Absolutely. So, Carmen, what wakes you up in the morning? What's your inspiration or passion?
My inspiration is having a purpose. I think that's why we all need to get up in the morning. You have to have a purpose that drives you. And I think that, being a leader for many years in healthcare and really seeing an evolution, if you will, of the whole environment of healthcare over the last 38 and a half years I'm going into right now. And just really feeling like I have a purpose to really mold the leaders in nursing of the current environment and of tomorrow. I am passionate about that. I'm passionate about my profession, and I want to see it, flourish. I want to see nurses reach their maximum potential, and I feel that, that's my purpose, and I still have a lot to share in my professional career. And being in academia now full time, it's just everything's happened perfectly the way it needed to happen.
So, what is your role here at Rowan? Does Rowan have a nursing program?
Thank you. Yeah, Rowan has a, you actually have to be already a registered nurse. So in the true essence of being a nursing school, we don't have an undergraduate program for the RN to become an RN.
Okay.
However, our program has been founded on the nurse who is already licensed, who has to have additional degrees, and the current environment demands it. And the environment in our area, and even nationally, is really making the Bachelor of Science in Nursing degree an entry level of education.
Okay.
Further, the master's now is really becoming more needed, and
kind of
in
the
order
industry standard
for sure, to be not only to advance nursing as an evidence-based practice that it is, but also to remain interprofessional with our colleagues. That, for example, physical therapists, pharmacists, now their entry level is a doctorate.
Yes.
So I do not, I have no reason to believe that we are not headed in that direction as well.
Okay.
And so, the advanced degrees is what our program is. So we have an RN to BSN program.
Okay.
Further, we have a master's program that has grown immensely over the last 5 years. That is, you can get a master's as a nurse practitioner for adult gero or adult gerontology, I should say, or family nurse practitioner. We now have a nurse educator track for those that are don't want to be nurse practitioners, but in fact want to be nurse educators in either the hospital setting, the healthcare setting, or in college.
Oh, interesting.
And what I was hired for, and what I'm really very passionate about, I just got done finishing up tying the last ends of the nurse executive specialization.
Oh, what is that?
That will be exactly as the name suggests, that the master's will be a specialization in leading, nurse leadership, the nurse executive, everything that the nurse executive needs to lead teams in healthcare. That was my background. I was a leader for many years. I recently, I've worked in the industry as a leader for the last probably 2 decades.
Okay.
So that was why I was hired, really, to create this curriculum. So I'm happy to say I've, submitting that now. We hope to have that launched in 2020.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah. And
So are there other programs like that around, or?
there are other nurse leadership programs, for sure, in other colleges. So in order for Rowan to remain cutting edge and competitive, we wanted to be more than the, nurse practitioner school for sure. And don't get me wrong, we have over 300 students currently enrolled to be nurse practitioners, but in truth, not all nurses want to be an NP.
Yeah.
And some want to be educators and leaders. So now we have it all.
That's so interesting. One of the recurring themes that I'm finding in this podcast is that students who are graduating high school, they know the names of, say, a few professions that are out there. So they know nurse, but they don't know all of the other things that you could do as a nurse. So what's something that you wish people knew about this field that maybe people don't know?
I wish people knew that with the multitude of specialties available, you literally can do anything as a nurse today. And for example, if you decide you graduate and you go into becoming a med-surg nurse, medical surgical nurse, and you work on a unit in a hospital, and after a couple years or maybe even sooner, you say, you know what, I really think I want to maybe be a critical care nurse, or maybe I want to be a flight nurse, or maybe I want to be a nurse researcher or a nurse scientist or an educator or so on. The list goes on. And that's the beauty of this profession. You can be, a dad or a mom. You can be, someone who maybe even has a consulting job, has side career. A lot of nurses today are working, and this has been for a while, staff nurses, for example, are working 12-hour shifts in hospital settings right now. When I was a leader, I could not get any of my nurses to ever even start the conversation about going back to 8 hours, 5 days a week, because, again, they were dads, moms, or just, wanted those 4 days off a week. So while the 12-hour shift is, it takes a little getting used to.
Sounds daunting, yeah.
It's arduous at times because it's a lot of work. The good news is you have 4 days off a week to recover.
Oh, that's wonderful.
So nurses, again, this has been the industry standard, and nurses really love their 12-hour shifts. Now, that said, if you go into the other specializations, or the ones I mentioned, nurse leaders, for example, don't typically work that kind of a schedule.
Sure.
There's also modifications like 410s. Nurses can do 410s because nurses are needed everywhere. I think that's the takeaway. Nurses are needed in like industries. Like, for example, there's nurses that work in manufacturing positions, casinos. You think about it. What happens when you get hurt at Disney World?
Oh, I didn't think about that. Yeah.
Right? I mean, you're going to go to the infirmary there.
Somebody's going to take care of you. Yeah.
And it's probably going to be a nurse.
Okay. Interesting. So, nursing, is this a worthwhile field to get into? How would you advise incoming students about nursing, or somebody who's thinking, maybe I want to go into nursing, but I'm not really sure?
Well, I would say start out getting exposure. If you know another nurse, or you have a family friend or acquaintance or anybody that you know who can help you really understand what the profession is about, I recommend that. I've had students that, come back and they say, wonderful, that was great. I really didn't know all of these things. So, remember, it's not what it is on television, on the shows.
Absolutely.
There's a little bit of nuances there that are similar, but in all seriousness, really begin to explore. I mean, you can talk to advisors, you can talk to other leaders in the field, you can become volunteers. You can be a volunteer in a hospital. Hospitals are always looking for volunteers. So really understand it. Explore it, immerse yourself in as best as you can as time allows, and realize that, it's a profession that's very much it's a giving profession, right? Because my greatest leader, one of the greatest leaders I ever had, always said, remember, your patients, it's like you are, manning that airplane, and it's up to you 1,000% to make sure you land that plane safely.
Yeah.
So patients that go into hospitals today, they're putting all of their trust in the nurse, and it is so rewarding. Are there times when, maybe there can be periods of sadness, you lose patients because, death is imminent for all of us, right? It does happen. Trauma, happens, and, sometimes, we lose patients, right? That's the reality. But for even those experiences are enriching, and I personally have seen nurses grow, not just as nurses, but as people, for having a true value of life. And I think that, patients, even being a patient myself, let me take my step out from the nurse role for a minute and be the patient, because I've been the daughter of the patient, and I've been the wife of the patient, and I've been the patient.
Okay.
And I can tell you that who you see the most of when you're being taken care of is your nurse.
Absolutely. I was actually just thinking that as you were speaking, I was thinking, well, when I've been in hospital situations and settings, you see the doctor for a very short period of time, and the nurse is the continual care.
In fairness to the doctors, that's their role, right?
Absolutely,
That's what they have to do. So, I love my doctor. We love our doctors. We love our colleagues. But, at the end of the day, the doctors will be the first to admit, they'll say, I'm counting on my nurse. When my nurse calls me and he or she says, this is what's going on with the patient, I rely on that, because I'm not there. They are at 2:00 in the morning, right? Kind of thing.
So what type of people would you say should consider this as a career? I mean, you have to be a nurturer in a sense, but you also have to have a background in science. And what type of people do you find are successful in this field?
Well, successful people have it all, if you will. When I go to hire someone, I always looked for someone. Of course, I wanted somebody who did well in school and had that high GPA, because look, at the end of the day, you could be that super nice person, but if you don't
need to
understand
know your stuff, yeah.
if you don't understand chemistry, then you didn't get a good grade in it, so
we're going to have a problem.
Right, totally. So, but that said, I've also had, the 4.0 scholar who comes in, and they don't have that customer service that I need, So I can remember situation after situation, but one stands in my mind of the nurses. I had 6 nurses. Actually, we had one position, and at the time, the industry was flooded, and we had one position, and I had narrowed it down from 30 to like 6 applicants, and they were all high hitters, all top, all equally, really on the resume, equal. And why I hired the one that I hired was I was asked this question. It's a behavioral type question. What would you do? What do you do? Or can you explain a time when you had a dissatisfied customer? Because I knew she was working through nursing school. She was working in Nordstrom's.
Ah, yes.
And she was a shoe salesperson in Nordstrom. So I don't have to tell you, right? High-end shoes.
Absolutely.
Right? Jimmy Choo's can be upwards of $1,000. And I said, can you give me an example of a time? And she proceeded to tell me a story of, an irate customer who apparently spent thousands of dollars, on these shoes, and came in and basically, laid her out and was ready for a fight, right? And came. And as she explained how she de-escalated that patient, or that, wasn't the patient, but, the client.
The customer, yeah.
And how she managed that. And how I heard through that true caring, true, really sense of wanting to do the right thing, and really customer service.
Wow.
I hired her. She was the winner out of that lot of 6 people, because nobody else could come close to a story that, she shared with me about this irate customer who was, reporting her and going to the manager and gave her false information, so on. So my advice then would be really realize that at the end of the day, everything that you do and everything that happens, at the center of every policy and procedure and situation, in the center of that equation is a patient. And it could be your loved one, but I can guarantee you, even if it's not, it's somebody's loved one.
Absolutely.
It's
all about the people. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's the people skills and certainly the theoretical knowledge that makes the best nurse and the most successful ones, for sure.
Have you seen over the years any? I don't know how to say this exactly. Have people come with the same interpersonal skills over time, or have you seen that change as we have new students coming up? And how would you advise a student to become comfortable with that, to start talking to people and interacting in a role like that?
And I mean, in full transparency, I think that, there was a time when, and we're about to come on we're actually in the midst of a very severe nursing shortage.
Okay.
What that means is that we have to create a lot of nurses, right? And marketing starts, and the lure and getting people interested starts. And that's great, because people that are really good candidates go to school, they get that nursing license. The caveat there, though, is you can also have people who go into the field because they're told, hey, you're going to start out at a really decent
Nice salary, yeah.
right? We've all heard it, right?
Absolutely.
You're going to be able to work just 3 days a week. You're going to be able to get double time on holiday, and so on and so forth. And that's all true, and that's a good thing. And it's important to know the perks of your job. But what happens is that these people don't realize that they don't have that right. All those interpersonal skills I talked about,
Yep.
they don't necessarily have those.
Okay.
And they might be more prudent to work, outside of the,
Research, something like that.
yeah, something that because so that is something that I think is detrimental. I had somebody one time who I was at a neighborhood picnic, and somebody was there. With a friend of one of their kids was there, and somebody said, "Oh, well, Carmen, she's a nursing teacher. She teaches, and she's a nurse, and she's a nurse executive." And so I said to him, "Oh, really? You're going to nursing school?" "Yep, I'm going to be a nurse anesthetist, and I'm going back to school to be a nurse anesthetist." Hadn't even gone to school yet. Now, nurse anesthetist, just so you know, is like a master's degree. You have to have critical care experience for like 2 years. It's really a long secondary education trajectory, but in truth, you start out at a very impressive salary that's not typical for nurses. So I just found that was an odd comment that he said, "I'm going to be a nurse," and not that I want to. And I said, "Why do you want to do that?" I couldn't help it. I probed it. And I said, "Why do you want to do that?" "Oh, because you know what they start at."
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and that's what I said. "Oh, okay."
Well, I'm going to change gears a little bit here. Something that we've talked about a lot is the work-life balance that nurses have, or that everybody has, really. And you are something called a yoga nurse.
Yes.
Can you tell us about that?
Sure. As the name would suggest, this is a registered trademark program that you can look it up. It's yoganurse1word.com. And just at a real high level, I can tell you what it is that you obviously have to be a nurse, but you also have to be a yoga teacher.
Okay.
And that's what I was fascinated about, because as a holistic nurse, and I've been a yoga teacher for a long time, and practiced yoga really literally since the 7th grade. For me, and that's obviously a long time ago. So, but what I loved about this particular certification was there's a lot of yoga teachers and there's a lot of nurses.
Yes.
But in this case, you have to be both.
Okay.
So it's very very specialized, and I loved that. And I love the founder, Annette Tsergny, is the founder for this, and I'm probably botching her last name, but Annette, she's on the website, and she is. Annette Tsergny is amazing, and she developed this program with our sole purpose, as simple as it seems, it's profound, is it's expanding consciousness in healthcare.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And that's our mantra, and that's the foundation of our work. Right now, I think there's only about 287 of us in the country.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, because again, it does take the two. You have to be both things.
An expert in both
you
areas,
You have to be a nurse and a yoga teacher and understand the principles of both. So we, do a lot of our work is simple techniques, and realizing that while I appreciate, and I appreciate the advanced poses in yoga, and God bless all the people that can do those. I've never done a headstand. I never will do a headstand. That's not supported or unassisted. I do have a stand, but I do it just. But I respect everybody who has. But at the end of the day, I think that misconception, we work on that too.
Okay.
That there are 7 or 9 branches of yoga, and physical is only one of those. That in truth, mindfulness practices, stress relief, just the sense of learning how to pause and breathe, the breath, all of those things are clearly the paramount and the foundation of yoga. So whatever you do physically, you can take it as far as you want, but in truth, you can get all the benefits from yoga doing a chair class, if that's where you are.
Okay.
And that's a lot of the work that we do. Okay. That, literally anybody, anyone can do yoga. My nursing or my yoga training is through YogaFit, which is also a registered trademark, and you can look that up. It's one word, YogaFit. And I think, there are a lot of teachers here at Rowan, because I know that there's trainings that I took my level 3 training here at Rowan,
Oh,
actually
did you?
years
Okay.
ago in 2003 or something. And it's the same premise that yoga is not this exclusive, group of people that only some people are welcome to the club kind of thing. But in fact, yoga is for everyone, everybody. So every physical body, but every person, for sure.
Great.
And so that is the things that we do with Yoga Nurse is just an expansion of that.
That's wonderful. So my last question for you.
Yes.
Why Rowan? Why Rowan for you? Why Rowan for students? Why are you here?
Right. Well, you did mention that I'm an alumni. So, and the older I get, the more I realize the importance of this statement. But, Rowan's success is my success. So if I'm out in the community and I'm hearing anything, positive about Rowan,
It's part of you, yeah.
Right, absolutely. Conversely, I'm not going to stand for anything being negative, being said negative about Rowan because, at the end of the day, we all love our university, right?
Sure, yeah.
And I loved, my undergraduate the most because I think that was more, I did online programs and I had residencies with those. So it wasn't 1,000% online, but
Sure.
I loved it. And I see, really honestly, I see the benefits of all. I can argue both sides of, online education versus brick and mortar. But at the end of the day, I spent a lot of time here.
Yeah.
I graduated in 94. What's really cool and just happens to be super convenient is I live so close. I live in Washington Township, but on a quiet night on my back deck, I can literally hear the football.
My goodness, really?
I swear to God, because
Okay.
I'll even say to my husband, "What is that?" He goes, "That's Rowan's football games going on right now." So, so I'm part of the community.
So it really is like home. Like
Totally
coming
is.
back,
Yeah,
coming
I
like
know.
home.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm sorry if that sounds corny, but I really do mean
No,
it from my heart.
absolutely
That
not. Yeah.
that and now having the opportunity to bring my two loves, Rowan and nursing together. It's just, I don't know. It's living the dream for me. You know what I mean?
So wonderful.
Yeah,
Great.
yeah, it's living the dream. So
Carmen, thank you so much for coming to talk to us today.
thank you for having me. It's been wonderful. Thank you.
And this is Rowan Confidential.